This is Wealth Wednesday with Brent Wilsey, president of Wilsey Asset Management.
Good evening. I'm Brent Wilsey, president of the investment firm Wilsey Asset Management. Well, you may be getting a bigger tax refund this year. I mean, actually about $55 billion is going to be refunded out to people this year. Now, you may remember last year that big, beautiful bill that came out. Well, now you're going to see the effects of that big, beautiful bill. And I want to point out, this is not for the rich. People say, oh, these tax reductions are always for the rich. This is not for the rich. This is really for middle class and below. They really benefit. I'll explain why just in a minute. One thing I do want to say, because it happens a lot, why it's not for the rich, is a thing called modified adjusted growth income. We call it MAGI. I'll talk more about that. But let's get off with some of the deductions here. The standard deduction for single people is now $15,750. That's an increase of $750 from last year. Also, too, for married filing jointly, it's $31,500. That's up $1,500 from last year. And your standard deduction, that's where you put that in first, and then you start paying taxes above that amount. Big one here also, too, was state and local tax deduction. Now the limit's $40,000. It used to be $10,000, now it's $40,000. But again, that MAGI comes in. If you have income of $500,000 or more, joint or combined, you won't get that deduction. You go back to the normal $10,000 from before. Child tax care credit, this was up 10% this year in that big, beautiful bill. It is now $2,200 versus $2,000 last year. And this is a credit. This takes away from the taxes. So if you have $10,000 in taxes, $2,200 from that, now you only owe $7,800 in taxes. The MAGI on that is $200,000 for single, $400,000 for married filing jointly. Extra deduction for seniors, and this came out because seniors are paying taxes on their Social Security, so what they now have is this extra deduction on top of the normal one of $6,000. The limit on that for MAGI is $75,000 if you're single, $150,000 married filing jointly. You don't get that credit over that. One that came out of nowhere that was a surprise was the $10,000 interest deduction on loans. But there's qualifications here. First, it must be a new car. Second, the car has to have final assembly in the U.S. If it's not, you're not going to get that deduction. So I wouldn't rely on the salesperson to ask them. I would do the research before I went car shopping to make sure it does have that final assembly here in the U.S. But there are limits on that as well. The MAGI on that's $100,000 for single people or $200,000 MAGI limit married filing jointly. Another one that was big was the overtime pay. $12,500 for single and $25,000 for married filing jointly. This was a big one because if you do overtime, you get tax-free overtime. Now it's not on the full amount. If you're earning $30 an hour, time and a half, get $45. It's only the difference, that $15 that is tax-free. That does have the limit of that $12,500 for single, $25,000 married filing jointly. MAGI limit on that, a little bit on the low side, $150,000 for single, $300,000 for married filing jointly. And another big surprise, had a friend that his wife's a waitress at Ruth Chris in Del Mar. They got a tax refund of $9,000. What a shock that was to them, because you get the deduction up to $25,000 on tips, tax-free. I mean, that's over $2,000 a month you're getting tax-free tips. The MAGI on that is also $150,000 when you're single, $300,000 if you're married filing jointly. So all this stuff comes for you. What I would recommend, take that money, invest in your 401k or something else. For more information, go to our website, smartinvesting2000.com. Again, smartinvesting2000.com. Have a great evening. We'll talk more next week.
This has been Wealth Wednesday, sponsored by Wilsey Asset Management.